That's my best friend. That's my best friend.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Dave Mo, Street Dreams Automotive, Money Talk, Dave Mo Flips. There's so many fucking aliases with this channel. Who the fuck knows anymore, right? So here, check this out. I'm just enjoying myself. It's a nice day out here in Florida, backyard. Checking out the pool, about to like the barbecue, get some chicken going. But I want to get this video out there for you guys. Also, I'm using an iPhone today versus my, usually I got the S21. So tell me what you guys think about the audio and stuff like that. There's no microphone, no nothing. A lot of times I use the S21 if I'm in the office upstairs with a mic. But without further ado, let's get into today's video, okay? So a lot of great questions have been popping up. So I want to address kind of like each one separately and make separate videos for it. One of the major ones that I think is going to help most of us out is going to be, especially now going into tax time, you're going to start seeing a lot of shit go down at the auctions, all right? I believe I made a video about this before, but let's go over it again. So things to look out for at the auction. Now that a lot of auctions aren't allowing you to use your OBD2 reader, that's a problem. So those check engine lights, we don't know what they are. We don't know the, depending on the OBD2 reader that you had, you could find out if the car ever overheated before. You could find out if it's true mileage. There's a lot of things you could do. Just because Carfax doesn't say that it's odometer rollback doesn't mean that it wasn't rolled back. It just means that no one's gonna know, which I guess doesn't really matter, but from an ethical standpoint, it's fucked up. So I'm just watching my dog too, guys. I apologize. I'm just having a really, really good day, really happy with life. So anyway, if you go to the auction, okay, and you're worried about a head gasket, this was a question. How can you tell if there's a head gasket? I don't check the oil, and I really don't look at the coolant. What I do is I let the car run. I get there extra early or the day before, depending on what time the auction is. Usually, if the auction is in the morning, you get there the day before. You can test out the cars. If the auction is in the afternoon, then you can get there in the morning. I'll have a list of cars I want to go over. And I'll tell you what, the easiest way to find out if there's a bad head gasket, turn the car on. Let it run for, I would say most cars will break the halfway point in about 10 to 15 minutes. Honestly, in Florida heat, we're getting it way faster. Now, if it's winter and you're up north, let it go for 20 minutes, okay? Drive the car around the lot. Try to get it to operating temp and then let it sit, all right? If you see that it's overheating a little bit, walk the fuck away. It's not worth the risk. Just walk away from it, okay? Another thing to look for, of course, you could check the oil, right? If it's got milkshake on it. What am I talking about, milkshake? If the oil has, well, here, look, Google it. Put milkshake oil. Or it's chocolate and vanilla milkshake mixed to one. That weird color brown that you get, that very light, almost grayish color, that's milkshake. That means that you have antifreeze going into the oil and it's mixing, and that's what it's going to do. Now that's not always the case, because sometimes head gaskets blow and they build pressure. So before, and this is gonna be hard at the auction, before you start the car, feel the return and the flow of the coolant. If they're tight, that means they're building pressure, which means that the exhaust is going into, instead of the antifreeze going into the oil, the exhaust, right, is going into the coolant. So it's not going to change colors. It's just going to not be able to release that pressure. Now, again, if you're at the auction, you don't know if someone drove it before you, so that's not always the best way to do it. In my advice, the best way to do it is to let the car run. Let it idle. Also, with that being said, you can, of course, look at the cap, okay, of the coolant and see what it looks like, and you can look inside the reservoir and see what it looks like. I'll say this. There's a lot of head gasket fixes out there, right? A lot of snake oil. You got K&W, you got Blue Devil, you got Bars. There's a bunch of them that you can use. Some of them work. I've actually had a lot of luck with K&W, Fiber Lock, I believe it was called. But that's not necessarily fixing the head gasket. That is, spending 50 bucks and hoping to God it works. With that being said, guys, look in the reservoir. If you see like oil on the top. Like, you know how oil makes like that, you've all been in the rain and you've seen where the oil on the ground from the cars gets that rainbow look. If you see that in the reservoir tank, that means that someone has added some sort of oil additive to it. You could drain that coolant out a million times. Oil is never going to come out. Like, you might get some of it out, but it's still going to be on the walls, in the motor, in the radiator, in the overflow. And when you fill it up with new coolant, you'll always see that slickness on top, okay? If you see that, just know the head gasket may be repaired, but someone definitely threw some sort of additive in there at some point, all right? Let me get into the story for you. There was a guy I knew, and what he would do is the cars he was going to sell at his lot, he would send and have oil changes done. He would then request the old oil to come back with him. So he would get fresh oil put in the car he was going to sell at his lot, and then he would just have, you know, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, 5 or 10 of the 5-quart jugs that you could get full of used motor oil. Now, let's just say he ended up buying a car and had a bad head gasket. What he would do is he would drain all the fluids from the engine. You're talking about draining the oil and you're draining the coolant. Drains it the whole way down, does a coolant flush, flushes out the oil one more time, you know, with dirty oil, gets it out. Then what he'll do is he'll fill up the oil halfway with the dirty oil that came from the other cars. Fill up the other half, let's say 5 quarts, 2.5 quarts of dirty oil, 2.5 quarts of fresh oil. Then what he would do is fill up the coolant with good coolant, you know, that like 50-50, whatever, and then fill the rest with water. It doesn't matter. Change the top to the oil cap and change the top to the radiator cap. So now it doesn't look like anything's bad. So when the car was going through the auction, people were pulling the dipstick, and all it looked like was that the car hasn't had an oil change or is due for an oil change. Bad oil with good oil, mix it together. It doesn't look like it's old oil. It just looks like it's ready for a change. So again, guys, you are swimming with the sharks. Like, keep in mind, these people out here, they're out to make money, and you're in their game, or we're in the game together, and these guys are out here killing it, okay? Another thing to look out for, you know, odometer rollback, but we already went over that. You know, you can Carfax it. You should always have that ready. If you're not gonna have Carfax, at least have the Manheim app. Because sometimes, you know, if you see something and it's like, wait a second, the mileage was 2,000 miles less 2 years ago, but it's not saying that it was odometer rollback, chances are it's odometer rollback, and they just knew how to do it. So a lot of these guys that do odometer rollback, they'll Carfax it, see the last reported mileage, and then switch the mileage to a few miles over that. That's why if you have the funds, get an OBD2 reader that can actually read the actual mileage from the ECU itself, okay? Because a lot of these cars keep that mileage in the speedometers. But if you had one that read it from the ECU, you couldn't be a victim of that, all right? Check for your catalytic converters. Here in the state of Florida, even though we're not an emission state, you can't sell a car without catalytic converters. It's a problem. What else are some things that you want to watch out for? Motor knocks. So you think this is an easy one, right? Oh, I could hear a motor knock. You absolutely can. But when you're going around looking for the motor knock, make sure that there's nothing else wrong with the car. So, you guys heard me say the story. You could unplug or take out or unthread an O2 sensor, right? That comes from the manifold. Now the exhaust, or you can take the manifold off. So what they're trying to do is make the other noise, right, so loud that it's actually drowning out the motor knock. Let's just say you had a lower end motor knock and it's very slight, but now you have this exhaust light, this exhaust sound that's super loud, right? You might miss it. So if you see a car and it's got like an exhaust leak or something on those lines, and it just seems kind of weird, take the oil cap off and try to listen into that, like listen in the oil cap, so you could listen to the inside of the motor. Sometimes you'll catch it, sometimes you won't, but hopefully, if it's me, chances are I'm walking away from it, you know. And again, it sucks because what I'm telling you guys to do is really walk away from a lot of potential cars. And it does, it sucks, you know. But again, I'm trying not to get you guys caught up. Transmissions are hard. Transmissions, if it goes in park and it goes into drive, perfect, you're golden. You can really only drive it around like Mannheim and stuff like that and get to, you know, second or third gear. You're not really going to be able to drive it where you can get through all the gears. Chances are, if it goes in first and it goes into reverse, and it goes into second without a slip, you're going to be all right. But again, you know, buyer beware. I'm trying to think like those are the main ones, you know, to look out for, in my opinion, at the auctions. Like, those are fairly simple, you know. Yeah, that's really the ones. The head gasket's really the main one. The head gasket's going to be the one that gets more people. That's going to be the one that is deliberately done to get over on you. The transmission is really nothing you could do. This isn't like the old days where you could put fucking sawdust in there and make the transmission fluid thicker, so this way it would grab a little bit better. Like, that's like old school shit. Like, you're not gonna do that with today's transmissions. And then always look for, you know, the oil marks in the coolant, because that's a sure tell that someone at least put something in there. That's it, guys. You know, there's really not too much I can tell you in regards to how not to get burnt at the auction, other than take your time, bring a jump box, and be prepared to spend as much time as you possibly can at the auction. And ultimately, if you really can, try to limit your exposure to buying from independent dealers like myself. Try to buy with the franchise dealers, any franchise dealer, Chevy, Honda, Lexus, you know, whatever, you know what a franchise dealer is. Try to buy from them. The likelihood of them fucking you over by doing some sneaky shit is slim to none. Chances are, if it has a bad head gasket at Honda, they're not going to try to dummy it up. They're just going to send it to the auction. So that's, again, I would make that my number one. You know, like, as I'm buying cars, especially from auctions other than like ACV and Trade Rev, and I think those are the only two, and CarMax. You know, I try to really buy from the franchise dealers, and I do understand that if I'm buying from a independent, I'm really rolling the dice. All right. And if you Google the independent and they're a buy here pay here spot, you're really rolling the dice. I mean, shit, man, you're really rolling the dice, because those motherfuckers right there, they'll finance anything. If a car runs and drives, they will try to get anything from it, from their mother. It doesn't matter. Ooh, you hear that? Yeah, I like that. So, guys, I hope that helped. You know, I'm sorry I can't get into it much more than that, because really and truly, that's it. Like, there's really not much to it. All right? Stay tuned for the next video, because someone asked me a question about how do we get buy here, pay here books. And truly speaking, you can, and I've said it before, you can buy here, pay here your way out of business. It really does happen. Guys, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, hit that subscribe button, support your boys, support the community, support the team. We're out.
That's my best friend.